Hello, this is Romany welcoming you to the 2053rd edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline 15th June 2016. The readers this week are Caroline, John and Romany, with Colin on the controls. The editor was Caroline. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Fernand Bouillon, Harry Brewer, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perry, and is used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we will be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, and are their copyright. The events information has been collated by us from other sources. The local news headlines this week include Brave George is a lifesaver, Council bosses state plans for road remain on table, and things that go bump in the night. Before the news, we have one or two special news items and notices. But first, the sunrise and sunset times for tomorrow, 17th of June, are sunrise 04:43 hours and sunset 21:20 hours. A special news notice for yourselves, which is Enfield Vision are holding their annual general meeting on Monday, July 4th at Park Avenue Disability Centre from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. If anyone wishing to attend requires transport, please ring Enfield Vision on 0208 373 6260. That's 0208 373 6260. Please let us know by Friday, 1st of July, if you wish to attend. Now, we'll go on with our What's On notices, and I'll start with the first notice, which is the audio description tours at Whitechapel Gallery. The Whitechapel Gallery has confirmed the next 3 dates for audio description tours, which will focus on a major exhibition by abstract artist Mary Heilman. The tours are free, as is entrance to the gallery. Tours will take place on Saturday 16th July at 1 p.m. and Wednesday 3rd of August at 11:30 a.m. I beg your pardon. To book your free place, please contact the Whitechapel Gallery via email or phone. Email address is access@whitechapelgallery.org. That's one word, access@whitechapelgallery.org, or by phone on 0207 522 7888. That is 0207 522 7888. And now I'll pass on to Caroline for the next What's On notice,
which is an artist's workshop with audio description at Tate Britain. This practical workshop for blind and partially sighted participants will provide the opportunity to gain a deeper understanding of Anwar Shemsa's work and his process. Using a range of tactile drawing and printing techniques, the session will explore the themes used by the artist, from his use of calligraphy and architecture to his interest in the relationship between texture and form. The workshop will take place on Monday the 20th of June 2016 and will be from 2 to 4 p.m. Places are limited, so please book early to avoid disappointment. For more information, contact Anna Murray, who's the assistant curator. Her email address is anna.murray@tate.org.uk and her phone number 0207 887 8888. That's 0207 887 8888.
And now a notice from Metroblind Sport and the Thomas Pocklington Trust about a ladies' football event in Southgate for blind and visually impaired sportspeople run by coaches from Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. They are on Saturday the 16th of July 2016 from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon at Barnet and Southgate College, Southgate Campus, High Street, Southgate, London N14 6BS. You will be met at Southgate Station on the Piccadilly line, a short walking distance from the college. Meet at the station at 12:30. To register and book your place, please contact Odette Batterall at the Thomas Pocklington Trust on 07974 578 637 or email odette.b@pocklington-trust.org.uk.
Do get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We love to hear from you. If you have any comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 0208 805 6578. That's 0208 805 6578. She is your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. Now John will read the first item of local news.
And the heading is Brave George is a lifesaver. A man has been hailed a hero after risking his life to drag a disabled pensioner from a blazing car seconds before it exploded. George Perrott, aged 32, was driving down Green Dragon Lane in Winchmore Hill, heading to the shops with his girlfriend on Saturday afternoon, when he spotted a stationary Chrysler on fire. The driver's door was open, and the elderly man, who has only one leg, was struggling to get out. Mr. Perrott, who works for Barnet Council and is also a trainer at Titan Fighter, a mixed martial arts academy in Argonne Road, Edmonton, said, "He'd opened the driver's door into the road, and as we drove past, I had to swerve to avoid it. He was probably between 70 and 75. I ran to the car and was shouting, 'Get away from the car!' But another person, a lady standing nearby, could see inside, and she shouted, 'He's only got one leg.' I ran over and pulled him out. Seconds later, it all went up. It was one of those cars that has a gas tank and a petrol tank, and I knew that once the fire reached the petrol tank, it would all be over. But I didn't really think about myself. I just thought I needed to get him out." Mr. Perrott, who lives in Cockfosters, did not discover the driver's name, but said that despite his near-death experience, the elderly man, who escaped without a scratch, was joking about what car he would get next. Mr. Perrott said, "People were coming up and shaking my hand. Not the old man, though. He was just talking about how he was going to get a Bentley next." There was another guy there, a breakdown recovery bloke, and he was great too, stopping all the traffic. I'd like to think anyone else would have done the same thing. I wouldn't describe myself as a hero, really. The London Fire Brigade arrived in Green Dragon Lane just after 1:30 p.m. with 2 engines and 10 firefighters. They had the fire under control by 2:10 p.m. A spokesman for the London Ambulance Service said that it was aware of the incident but had not been required to attend.
Council bosses state plans for road remain on table. People have been assured that plans for a long-awaited road remain, despite specific references being removed from a major document. The road, known as the Northern Gateway Access Road, NGAR, is a planned route connecting the M25 and A10 in North Enfield, which has been backed by Enfield Council, MPs and neighbours for years in order to reduce traffic congestion and pollution. NGAR formed a major part of the Council's action plan for the north of the borough. However, recommendations from an independent inspector, which were approved this week, said other options to improve traffic should be considered first. It also recommended all direct mentions of NGAR in the North East Enfield Area Action Plan should be removed. Enfield's Conservative group accused councillors at a meeting on Wednesday of misleading the public on the future of the road, but both the authority and Enfield North MP Joan Ryan have moved to assure people they are still backing the building of the road. Ms Ryan said, "As I understand it, they're absolutely not backing away from the plan. However, the building of the road is entirely reliant on government support. People should not undermine this important case. They should not play politics with people's lives. I'm meeting the Secretary of State. If he will not support us, we will continue our campaign. There's no other solution. We're not going to be seeing less traffic on the M25. The issue will not go away." The final decision on whether the road can be built lies with the Secretary of State for Transport, Patrick McLaughlin, who recently agreed to meet with Ms Ryan and neighbours on Bullsmore Lane, which is currently used as a major access road from the M25 into Enfield, despite being a residential street. The 24-page recommendations say there is insufficient explanation or justification of the proposal, nor was it clear how the inclusion of the link road would necessarily achieve a shift from less sustainable means of transport. It says, "The Council proposed that all specific references to the NGAR be deleted from the NEEAP and that instead reference be made to a sequential approach to the selection of transport options, starting with measures to encourage a shift towards non-car modes, then traffic measures, and finally upgrading the highway network. This approach would ensure that the Council would only consider additional highway infrastructure if other more sustainable options were exhausted." Councillor Terry Neville, leader of the Conservative group, accused the Council of changing its stance on the road without telling the public. He said, "I'm amazed that the Labour Council thought they could get away with pulling the wool over the eyes of residents on Bullsmore Lane like this. They should apologise to residents in Bullsmore Lane." In response, Labour Cabinet member, Councillor Alan Sitkin, said the other options were to provide a temporary solution as they wait for money for the road and accused the Conservatives of treachery. He said, "The Council has always been totally committed. If we had the money, we'd build the road tomorrow. We don't want to sit on our hands."
Things that go bump in the night. The eagerly awaited Hollywood film about the haunting of an Enfield house went on general release in UK cinemas on Monday. The Conjuring 2, The Enfield Poltergeist, is inspired by a series of unexplained supernatural goings-on in a house in Green Street, Brimsdown, which made headlines around the world in 1977. The family involved, a mother, her 2 daughters and 2 sons, complained of bizarre events including furniture shaking and moving on its own, objects inexplicably being hurled across the room, and one of the girls speaking in a demonic voice. Paranormal investigators also allegedly witnessed these incidents. The film charts the terrifying demonic possession by a poltergeist of an 11-year-old girl who appears to levitate above her bed. Much of the location shooting for the new movie was filmed in the borough, not in the original street but in Graham Road, Enfield Town, which doubled for it. For more than 2 weeks last winter, residents living there saw their road turned into a film set as a crew of 150 technicians recreated the authentic look of the mid-1970s. Those exterior shots were edited in post-production, with the interior footage filmed in a studio set in Los Angeles. During a break in filming last December, shooting producer Rob Cowan told the Advertiser, "Everyone has heard of the Loch Ness Monster and likewise the Enfield Poltergeist." The Warner Brothers film is the sequel to 2013's The Conjuring and is directed by renowned horror movie man James Wan, who also made the Saw and the Insidious franchise. The Conjuring 2 stars Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who reprise their roles from the original film, in which they investigated a supernatural entity haunting a family at a secluded farmhouse in the US state of Rhode Island.
Development will bridge homes gap. Dressed in the obligatory hard hats and high-visibility jackets, officials surveyed the plot of a multi-million-pound project that they promise will transform High Street, Ponders End. The £46 million electric quarter scheme, due for completion early in 2019, will see the former Middlesex University site in High Street turned into 167 new homes, a replacement library and high-quality shops. The scheme gets its name from electric light bulb inventor Joseph Swan, who lived in High Street, Ponders End, and whose manufacturing company for the Edison and Swan United Electric Light Company, known commonly as Ediswan, had a factory in Ponders End. The development will have 1 to 4 bedroomed houses, 52 of which will be affordable for shared ownership and intermediate rent, and additional play space for children. Ahmet Oykner, Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Housing and Housing Regeneration, said, "The Council is absolutely committed to improving and increasing the supply of housing in this borough to tackle the current pressure we are experiencing, and this development will play a key role in increasing the amount of housing stock available in Enfield for residents. We urgently need more homes in Enfield to cope with population growth, and this new development will go some way towards bridging the gap." The Council believes that the scheme will deliver a major boost for the borough's economy. Construction firm Lovell will provide up to 10 apprenticeships for Enfield youngsters, as well as opportunities for work experience, and aims to draw more than a quarter of its workers from the borough. Alan Sitkin, Cabinet Member for Economic Regeneration and Business, added, "This fantastic scheme will help provide work and training for local people and will make Ponders End an even more attractive local shopping area."
Fears raised as 17 million savings are needed. CCG required to make further cuts. The group which runs NHS services is being asked to make 17 million of savings, with some worried that patients will be in the firing line. Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group, which is responsible for planning and budgeting healthcare, including at North Middlesex Hospital, has been under legal direction, special government measures, since August 2015. This is so that cuts can be made in order to bring the running of Enfield Healthcare within budget, and a Director of Recovery has been appointed. Answering public questions last month, the CCG board said it is on target to reduce the spending, with a plan for a first round of savings in place, but it did not say where those savings will be made. The board said the group had previously been given a savings target of £9.9 million, but this has been raised to £17.1 million. Monty Meth, head of the Enfield Over 50s Forum, has said he is worried that free prescriptions will be the first things to go if the cuts are made. He said, "The Forum is objecting to this so-called recovery plan because they're directed at the poorest and most vulnerable people in the borough." An unnamed spokesman for NHS England said, "For a significant period, Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group has faced financial challenges, and we're continuing to support them through the formal powers of direction."
Father wants answers. A father has accused those involved in the investigation of his son's death of playing games after it emerged no one has met with his family for 3 months. The Independent Police Complaints Commission, the IPCC, met with Chandrasen Chuman on March the 8th, the day after a coroner ruled his 19-year-old son Krishna, whose body was found in the Thames last year, had not committed suicide, recording an open verdict. They had met to discuss the police handling of the case after it was discovered Krishna's body had been in a morgue for 11 weeks before being found, before his parents were told. However, despite promises from the IPCC, no further meeting has taken place after the investigating officer went off work sick, leaving the Chuman family feeling abandoned and unable to continue their search to find out how Krishna died. Mr. Chuman told the Enfield Independent, "I want justice. I want answers. We have established Krishna did not kill himself, but now people are playing games with the investigation." A meeting had been scheduled for May the 5th before being pushed back to June the 1st, but now there is no set date. IPCC spokesman David Carnell said, "We regret the unavoidable delays in conducting a further witness interview with the family." Krishna of Nelson Road, Edmonton, went missing on August the 7th after going to play football with his friends. Police issued a missing persons appeal in November, even though a month previously his body had been pulled out of the Thames.
Students gear up for sixth form's last term. A sixth form has just begun its final half-term of teaching before it is closed for good. Broomfield School in Enfield will not teach students over the age of 16 after this summer, but will remain as normal for pupils in secondary school years. A post on the school's website says the call was made by the governors on March the 16th and will come into effect on August the 31st. It says, "Going forward, Broomfield School will now focus exclusively upon providing an outstanding education for its pupils in years 7 to 11. This will enable Year 11 pupils to choose from, as they wish, the many good and outstanding sixth form provisions in Enfield and the surrounding area." According to the document, giving the reasons for the closure, Broomfield's sixth form has the capacity to accommodate 230 pupils, but as of January the 20th this year, there were only 81, making it difficult to sustain. Some students have said the move has been disruptive. 18-year-old Lydia Sophocles said, "Closing down has caused me enormous stress, as during my exam period now and coursework deadlines, I am now juggling my own personal life and having to search for a new institute to continue my studies."
We will give Gabriel the best life possible. Gabriel Chadwick has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, a rare genetic disorder that sends sufferers, almost all of them boys, to an early grave, usually before they're 25. Speaking out about the heartbreak of Gabriel's initial diagnosis, his mum Anna told the Advertiser about the family's difficult decision to set up a charity to help fund vital research into the deadly wasting disease. Anna, 31, who lives off Waterfall Road, Southgate, said, "Gabriel is 6 now and was diagnosed just before his 4th birthday. I knew something wasn't right for the age of about 2 because he struggled to climb upstairs and was slow to run and jump. But when they told us what it was, our lives stopped. We felt so lost. It was devastating and heartbreaking. We felt really angry that our little boy had this terrible thing that would take him from us." Initially, Anna and her husband Stephen, who has his own heating business, began by fundraising for and supporting the bigger Duchenne muscular dystrophy charities, but in March they took the decision to set up their own, www.hopeforgabriel.co.uk. Anna said, "We don't want to think of the future because what Gabriel has is life-limiting and it will only get worse. But we have to be strong for our wonderful boy and his big sister Brendalee, 11, and work out a way through this. We made the decision to set up the charity to raise awareness and fund research in the hope that a cure can soon be found for our little boy and all the others living with Duchenne." Some boys have lived with Duchenne until their late 20s, but for others it's as young as 10 or 13 years old. We just don't know. Every case is different, but what we do know is that we'll give Gabriel the best life possible. Gabriel already has a wheelchair and cannot walk for more than 5 minutes without becoming very tired. His mum expects that between the age of 8 and 12, he'll lose the use of his arms and muscles in his upper body, and in the final stages of this cruel disorder, Gabriel's heart and lungs will be affected. The Enfield Community Singers are staging a fundraising concert at St Michael's Church in Gordon Hill, Enfield, on Saturday, July the 2nd. Entry to the concert is free, and the organisers are hoping that people will be generous with donations. Choral director Simon Gilbert said that the group had been touched by Gabriel's story. "We're a community project, essentially, and were particularly touched by the plea of Gabriel's mother to help raise awareness for Duchenne. We really hope to raise as much as possible for this very worthy cause. To get in touch or find out more, email Anna at hopeforgabriel.co.uk.
Duo's delight at Royal Honours. A sports fan who set up the youth section of a hockey club has helped other community clubs and charities, has been awarded an honour in the Queen's 90th birthday honours list. Keisha Billimoria, who started the youth section at Winchmore Hill and Enfield Hockey Club, has been honoured with the British Empire Medal. He has also been awarded the club's Jock Brunton Trophy for a member who has made an outstanding contribution twice and has developed a financial management and strategy for the club. A club spokesman said, "He is a fine example to the club's younger members of reliability and dedication to a common cause." He started playing at the club as a teenager. He was club captain for several years and still plays the game in the winter. In the summer, he plays for Edmonton Cricket Club. He said, "I started off mini hockey in the 1980s for the youngsters because we wanted to grow the club. It was effectively a men's hockey club at the time." Mr. Billimoria of Brantwood Gardens, Enfield, is a certified chartered accountant and has also served as club treasurer for several years. He also became company secretary for the Law Society charity. "I wanted to do something to put something back," he said. The 68-year-old also played a key role as honorary treasurer at the London Playing Fields Foundation as it developed a 3-year business plan. He even took a master's degree in corporate governance and finance as he qualified as a chartered secretary to help with his voluntary work. Mr. Billimoria added, "It's special and I feel absolutely honoured to be recognised in the Queen's 90th birthday honours. It's something I've enjoyed doing." A gong has also gone to Matthew Miller, chairman of the governors at Highland School in World's End Lane, Winchmore Hill, who was made an MBE for his work as a national leader of school governors supporting governing bodies. Highland School head teacher Bruce Goddard said, "Matt is admired by all those who come into contact with him for his professionalism and dedication to this unique role which endeavours to provide existing governing bodies with the knowledge and skills to ensure that standards are raised in their own schools."
Hundreds stage march against violent crimes. Around 300 people staged a march against violent crime last weekend. Crowds gathered outside the Florence Hayes Playground, 4 Street, on Saturday, June the 4th, to demonstrate against knife and gun attacks, which have claimed the lives of a number of young people in Edmonton in the past few years. The march, held in partnership with the Metropolitan Police and St John Ambulance Service, as well as a number of youth organisations, gained in size and momentum, with onlookers joining in as it headed towards Edmonton Green. It culminated at Latimer All Saints School, where workshops and seminars were hosted on the dangers and consequences of crime. March organiser Dr. Pat Agdamar said, "The community response was positive and reassuring in regards to what we set out to do, and it left a good atmosphere in the local community. Young people were telling me that they want to turn away from this violent lifestyle and help their friends to do so. The march served as a one-to-one communication with local people, and people of all faiths were brought out onto the streets to participate. The police were truly professional and inspiring."
Owner of a filthy pizzeria is fined £4,600. The owner of a pizzeria has avoided jail despite it being so dirty that pest control had to be called. Kamran Javadpour, 48, of Upton Road, Edmonton, was given an 8-week suspended sentence and fined £4,662 at Tottenham Magistrates Court on June the 2nd after a string of failed health inspections at his restaurant Apple Pizza. Javadpur pleaded guilty to 14 breaches of food safety and hygiene regulations dating back to 2012, which he had not dealt with despite warnings. The court heard an inspection on February the 10th, 2015, found apple pizza was extremely dirty and had a mouse infestation. Council inspectors said there was a lack of training in food hygiene by staff, a build-up of dirt and debris, and damaged cooking equipment. Apple Pizza was closed for 24 hours while pest control tackled the mice and a deep clean was done. It was allowed to reopen, but Javadpur was still prosecuted.
How foster homes offer the stability to succeed. Two young people who are at the forefront of helping looked after children in the borough have explained how their own foster carers provided stability and security in their lives. Sarah Miller, 26, is one of the key members of Kratos, the Children in Care Council, who points to the stability in a longer-term foster placement that grounded her. At an event organised by Enfield Council, she said, "When I was younger, I was in 3 different foster homes in the space of 4 years because they were mostly short-term placements. But then I was placed with a family from the age of 9 until 16, and it was good to know in that time that I wouldn't have to move again." Her fellow Kratos alumnus George Thrift, 19, agrees that it was a long-term placement which helped him excel at school. George, who will be starting university in September, says he benefited from the government's change to care guidelines, which allow young people to stay with their foster families past the age of 16 to give them support throughout the rest of their teens. "I was 6 when I went to live with my family, and for that whole time they have treated me like one of the family," he said. "They made me feel stable. I had no special treatment and wasn't treated any differently to their own children." The council is hoping that its latest drive to promote the positive power of fostering will drive up the numbers of people applying to be foster parents and point to the successes of people such as Amma Mackenzie, who always knew that her family would include foster children. "When I was younger, there was a point where I could have gone off the rails, but there were teachers and my mum and their support helped me to see the importance of staying on in school," she said. "Knowing how powerful a stable home life can be, I always wanted to be a foster carer." She is currently pregnant with her second child and also has a first placement living with her husband, her mother and her daughter. "I wanted to do this when my children were still little so they could see that it is just a normal part of their lives and that this is always how it will be," she added. To find out more about becoming a foster carer, log on to www.enfield.gov.uk.
And a pleasant story here under the heading, "I have enjoyed every minute." A woman who has campaigned for disabled rights for over 35 years says she is extremely proud to have been made a dame. Christine Lenehan, Director of the Council for Disabled Children since 2003, has been given the honour in the Queen's Birthday Honours. Ms Lenehan, from Enfield, first worked with disabled children at the age of 16 as a volunteer at a mental health institution before becoming a social worker in 1980. She said, "I am extremely proud to accept this honour on behalf of all the children, young people and families whose lives are affected by disability or special educational needs. At a very early stage in my career, I was struck by the fact that these children are often treated differently by those who do not understand that disabled people have a voice or that they have something valuable to contribute. Working with disabled children and young people has been a great joy for me. I feel very humbled for being honoured for my career. I've enjoyed every minute of it." In her role, Ms Lenehan has been instrumental in advising successive governments on legislation for children with special educational needs and disabilities. Since 2011, she has led reform for the Department of Education, employing 1,300 staff around the country who provide help to families and young people. Ms Lenihan was also awarded an OBE in 2009.
Capel Manor tutor joins the Gardener's World team. Gardening answers a deep need in human beings, said Capel Manor lecturer and new face of BBC Two's Gardener's World, Zephaniah Lindo. There's so much that can be achieved by gardening, says the 45-year-old from London Colney. In a physical, mental and spiritual way, it's a fundamental need that human beings have to get their hands dirty. Naya, as he likes to be called, grew up on a farm in the wilds of North Wales, where he first encountered agriculture and first tasted fresh produce aged 4, while podding peas in his aunt's garden. But strangely, it was after moving to Southwark in South London at the age of 9 that he really understood what he calls the hort bug. In London, we went to Burgess Park, which at that time was just a big open space. It wasn't the park it is now, with a big pond and boating lakes. It was just an area for football. You could ride your bikes, there were a couple of tennis courts, and that was it. But for me, it made that connection with going to an outside space to get a bit of perspective and see a big sky. My mum was always growing things. She's quite relaxed about her gardening. It would go in if it grew. But for me, it was that connection with the outside space, being able to provide you with something, an ability to engage with plants from seed all the way through to growing, maintaining and caring for them, and having all that enjoyable time, and then a reward at the end. I thought, this is great. Living in Manchester from the age of 13, Naya left school at 16 and went to work at a golf course training as a greenkeeper. I didn't like the early starts or getting wet, but I just loved being outdoors, he says. I earned £27 a week on the old YTS scheme and had to leave home at 4:30am. It cost £12 to get there, and I'd work long hours and weekends, so it certainly wasn't for the money, but I loved it. Naya's first proper garden was in a terraced house in Wigan. After I got married, the first thing I did after demolishing a wall was take up all the flagstones in the backyard, says the father of 5. It was a very small space, possibly 5 by 8 metres, but I managed to get in 8 or 9 trees, lots of produce, a selection of hostas and loads of hanging baskets. It was a curio, like a little museum, but I was learning along the way how to care for plants and what worked and what didn't. Moving to London Colney in 2000, he worked for St Albans building company, Tanglewood Homes, as a labourer, where he learned more skills from landscape gardener Paul Hughes. Naya then went into garden design and maintenance. I had regular customers, some I'd been with for 17 years, and you get a real emotional attachment to people and to the actual garden as well. But even after all that time, it's still developing. Some things work, and then things don't, so you try different things. Naya has built up a prosperous business, but a serious football injury put paid to that career. I needed a complete knee rebuild with 5 operations in the course of 4 years. I couldn't drive for several months, so I had to look for something else to do. An RHS Level 2 course allowed him to qualify in horticulture. It gave me the confidence to know that what I was doing was right, and I thought, I've got a bit of paper now that tells me I'm doing it right. Naya began his studies at Capel Manor in 2009 and went on to study RHS Level 3 and complete a 2-year teacher training degree before taking up a lecturing post 2.5 years ago, and is keen to pass on his skills to the next generation of gardeners. There's a small core of 16-year-olds leaving school who know they want to work outdoors, and they're a little bit unsure as to what horticulture is. But what they don't realise is such a wide industry, and it ticks all the boxes. Youngsters from Edmonton, Tottenham and other inner city areas who haven't had the opportunity to access that career, within a few months of them being with us, their whole attitude turns round. With Gardener's World, Naya aims to bring guerrilla gardening and urban community products into the spotlight. Gardens work on so many levels. You only need a few square metres, and even if you've just got a pot with a few flowers in, if it attracts a pollinator, it provides a habitat, it keeps a bee alive to then go on and pollinate and produce, and then you've done your bit. Your little garden has helped that ecosystem tick over just one more cog. If I can inspire people just to give it a go, I know once they've been bitten by the hort bug, they'll be doing it for the rest of their lives.
Now it's curtains up at Chicken Shed. It's new curtains for Southgate's Chicken Shed Theatre. The inclusive theatre in Chaseside needed replacement blinds for curtains which were too difficult for some students to manoeuvre. The theatre also needed to exclude every spot of light to create a total blackout effect in the building and build dramatic tension as audiences awaited action on the stage. Susan Jamson from Chicken Shed said, "We are delighted that for the first time in our history, we are going to have the most magnificent electric blackout blinds in our studio theatre." Some students struggled to raise and lower the heavy curtains as they prepared for end-of-year productions and also found it difficult to raise and lower blinds manually. A Hertfordshire-based company offered to donate and fit new electric blinds to cover a glass wall at Chicken Shed's studio theatre. The 175 full-time students can now control the blinds at the flick of a switch, just in time for their farewell productions. Experts from the Hitchin-based Shy in brackets UK company fitted the new blinds this week on Monday.
Overgrown playing fields are declared an eyesore. Neighbours say a playing field near their homes has become an eyesore because of dumped rubbish and dog waste. Enfield Council have allowed areas of grass to grow long on King George's playing field near Edmonton County School in order to encourage wildlife while cutting areas used by the school for sports this summer. However, the uncut areas have become a magnet for tippers, and those living nearby have started a petition to get the council to cut the grass, which has gathered nearly 200 signatures, that's the petition, not the grass, in under a week. Tracy Callahan, who lives in nearby Delhi Road, said they were never consulted on the council's plans for the field and says they have made the field an unpleasant place to go. Ms Callahan, who started the petition, said, "It is now hard to get to the bins because the grass verges have been allowed to grow so much. I tried calling the council, but after 2.5 hours I still couldn't get through. It really looks like an eyesore, and every neighbour, dog walker and person using the field I have spoken to agrees." Another Delhi Road neighbour, Anne Rogers, who has lived in the area for 15 years, has used the field regularly with her family, but says the state it is in now has put her off. She said, "It's meant to be a field for people to enjoy. We're angry at the lack of consultation. Instead, it is totally overgrown. Rubbish is spilling out onto the pavement after people chuck it into the long grass." Bosses at the council said the plans put in place are trying to use their resources in the most effective way. Councillor Daniel Anderson, Cabinet Member for the Environment, said mown lawns will be provided within the habitats and significant spaces for recreational use. He added, "Residents can rest assured that we will continue to ensure that traditional uses of our parks are not compromised in any way as a result of improved habitats and opportunities for wildlife to flourish."
Families' anger with grave memorial fee. A son has warned people to be aware of the costs of memorials after being asked to remove tributes on his mum's grave. Lawrence Ditchman's mum, Betsy, died last October and was buried in Edmonton Cemetery. Her gravestone cannot be put up until September to let the ground settle, and in the interim period, his father Fred built a wooden cover over the plot, filled with compost to allow flowers to be planted. Mr Ditchman of Brimsdown said the homemade box, costing around £15, allowed his father to pay his respects. However, the cemetery said it had to be removed and replaced with one of their own grave surrounds, which cost £250. Bosses from Enfield Council who run the cemetery have apologised to the family and offered a standard cover at a reduced fee. But Mr Ditchman said the situation has caused added distress. The 50-year-old said, "To speak like this to a 78-year-old man in his time of grievance is terrible behaviour. It looks terrible too, mass-produced, while my dad's one was made specially for my mum. If we'd known about this in advance, we would never have buried her there. The cost of the surround adds to the money they've already paid, including $4,500 for the plot and $2,000 for the headstone. Mr. Ditchman said they initially left their version on, but got a letter saying that unless it was moved by May the 31st, it would be destroyed, and so they've now removed it. Nikki Fielder, Enfield Council Assistant Director of Public Realm, Environment and Regeneration, apologised to the Ditchmans for the trouble. In a letter to Mr. Ditchman, he said, regulations around burial decorations have been the same for years, and homemade surrounds are banned for being trip hazards. But the rules have only been more rigidly enforced in recent years. He said, if your father had purchased a surround at the time of the funeral booking, it would have cost only £130 rather than the standard price of $250. During the conversation, it became apparent that the funeral director did not explain this to your father at the time of making burial arrangements, otherwise your father said he would have ordered one. On this basis, we offered to supply our grave surround at the reduced rate.
MP calls for Hunt to help. An Enfield MP has written to the government asking for them to intervene in crisis-hit North Middlesex University Hospital. Last week, the Edmonton Hospital's emergency department has been given an official warning to improve after government inspectors left unimpressed after a surprise visit last month. Joan Ryan, MP for Enfield North, has written to Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt asking him to take immediate steps to address the problems, requesting he provides reassurances to constituents that they will be given the safe and effective emergency care to which they are entitled.
And now some sports news. Cricket. North Enfield bounced back with big victory in final over. North Enfield returned to winning ways after a 5-wicket win over Hemel Hempstead Town seconds in Hearts Division 2B. The side were forced to bowl first and got off to a great start, with Dean Sanders securing 2 wickets in the opening 3 overs to leave Hemel Hempstead on 5 for 2. Following Smith's dismissal for 29, which left Hemel Hempstead with 89 runs on the board, the momentum swung back in Enfield's favour. The team's bowlers took regular wickets, limiting Hemel Hempstead to a score of 173 for 7 from 53 overs. North Enfield's reply started slowly, with Hemel restricting them to 32 runs in 16 overs, securing 3 wickets in the process. Skipper Kieran Jones was then bowled out for 35, and a win for Enfield was starting to look increasingly unlikely, as 105 runs were needed in the final 21 overs. Raymond Barker started the comeback, as he found his range and went on to score 69 not out. Baker built up a good partnership with Steve Gandy, but this was to be short-lived, with Gandy ousted for 18 with 98 on the scoreboard as he was caught in the deep trying to increase the run rate. Steve Gilmore then came to the crease, and he and Baker continued to keep the scoreboard ticking over. With Hemel Hempstead's fielders spread out and starting to tire, Baker took full advantage, electing to hit the boundary rather than running. This tactic worked a treat, as with 1 over left, Enfield needed just 1 run to secure the victory. Gilmore did the honours and secured the win in style, as he scored 4 runs from the first ball of the final over. The side will take on Welwyn Garden City seconds in the league this weekend. In Division 6B, North Enfield's seconds were held to a draw against Totteridge Millhillian's thirds. North Enfield won the toss and elected to field first, which looked like a good decision, as the away team struggled to hit the boundary, recording a score of 55 for 4 inside the opening 20 overs. However, the visiting captain inspired a fight back from the opposition, which was helped by the home team inadvertently dropping catches, and Totteridge finished on a score of 219 all out. North Enfield's chase got off to the worst possible start, as they lost Alex Williams for 0. Paul Cooksey and Ben Conway started the fight back as they scored 86 runs between them, but the home team then lost 5 quick wickets, leaving Mark Ricketts to bat with the tail to earn the draw, with Enfield finishing with a score of 144 for 7. North Enfield take on Letchworth Garden City Thirds on Saturday.
James Lewis signs for Town to bolster midfield options. Former Southend United youngster Merrick James Lewis has been confirmed as Enfield Town's second signing of the summer. Primarily a central midfielder, but also capable of playing in the heart of defence, the 24-year-old came through the youth system at Southend and signed a professional contract with the club in August 2010. He joined Braintree Town on loan in March 2011, where he played alongside Town boss Bradley Quinton before being recalled by Southend 6 months later, going on to make his Football League debut for the club against Rotherham United in September 2011. Having been released by Southend in May 2012, James Lewis underwent a successful trial with Colchester United and signed a 1-year deal with the club. He then signed for conference outfit Ebbsfleet United in April 2013 and has also had spells with Staines Town, Grays Athletic, Merstham, Canvey Island and Farnborough, for whom he made his debut against Town in March. James Lewis joined central defender Curtis Uja making the move to Town, and Quinton's delighted to have secured his services. He's still a young lad, but is a very good player, and he wants to be part of what we're doing, and I think he'll do well for us. I like having people who can play in more than one position, and his versatility will be a real bonus. I'm pleased with the way our squad's shaping up at the moment. Town have also confirmed a further 2 pre-season friendlies, with Quinton's men hosting Reading's under-21 side on July the 19th at 7:30pm, before going to Haringey Borough in a match to mark the official opening of their new 3G pitch on August the 6th at 3pm. The club will be holding a trials day on June the 25th, and anyone interested in taking part should email enfieldtownscout@gmail.com, with successful applicants being notified of the venue and start time.
And now some cricket again. Southgate lose again. An improved batting performance could not prevent Southgate from suffering a third successive defeat on Saturday as they lost by 49 runs at home by Hampstead in the Premier Division of the Middlesex County Cricket League. Having been bowled out for just 55 in their previous outing, Southgate did at least fare better on this occasion, but still fell some way short of their target as they were dismissed for 140 in reply to the visitors' 189. Hampstead decided to bat first after winning the toss, but soon found themselves in trouble as they slipped to 3-2. Steve Clark, 47, and Sam Everson, 35, got them back on track with a solid, if rather slow, partnership of 73 for the third wicket, and Ollie Steele chipped in with a useful 27 before Archie Fellows struck a crucial 38, coming in at number 8 to help bolster their final total. Mukesh Bhatt, 4-52, was the pick of the bowlers, receiving good support from Hayden Morton, 3-51. Southgate's top order again failed to deliver when they replied, and they were in real danger of being dismissed for another massively below par total when they fell to 62-6. However, Morton continued his fine day by top scoring with 44, and Phil Dunnett struck 41 to ensure that they did at least comfortably make it into 3 figures before Hampstead's victory was confirmed. Hugo Peterson's 4-35 played a key role in their demise. Meanwhile, Enfield failed to get maximum reward for a dominant display as they had to settle for a winning draw from their home match against Harrow St Mary's in Division 2. Max Houlihan, 68, and Jack Plum, 52, were the main contributors as Enfield reached 266-7 before declaring, and some excellent bowling from Lee Robertson, 5-83, saw them come close to sealing victory, but it was not enough as Harrow St Mary's closed on 221-7. Elsewhere, there was disappointment for Winchmore Hill as they lost by 71 runs in a low-scoring match at tabletop-in Brentham in Division 3. Scott Birkinshaw ended the hugely impressive figures of 5-29 as Brentham were dismissed for 135, but this total proved more than enough, with Hill being dismissed for just 64 after enduring a day to forget with the bat. Southgate go to Eastcote on Saturday, while Enfield visit Highgate and Winchmore Hill host Osterley. Botany Bay suffered a 6-wicket loss at the hands of high-flying Welwyn Garden City in the Premier Division of the Saracens Hertfordshire County Cricket League. Batting first, Bay amassed a total of 186, but it was not enough as Welwyn eased to 187-4 in reply. Botany Bay go to Totteridge Millhillians on Saturday.
And back to football. The heading, Blackburn positive over Ease prospects. Manager Neil Blackburn firmly believes that Enfield 1893 will go from strength to strength when the new Essex Senior League season gets underway in August. Blackburn took charge of the Ease midway through last season when they were languishing at the foot of the table, and although they continued to find life tough, he did help to spark an improvement both in performance and results as the side did enough to avoid the drop. And with a full pre-season to get ready for the 2016-17 campaign, the boss is confident that Enfield 1893 will make much more of an impact next time around. I came in when the club was going through a bit of a transition, he said. Steve Whittington, chairman, wanted someone to stabilise things, and I managed to do that and kept the side up. Things really started to pick up, results-wise, around December, and our form after that was of a mid-table team. A lot of the squad have already said that they want to stay, which is encouraging. We've had a trials night, and I've had a lot of interest from players who want to join us. The facilities we've got are great for this level, and it would be fantastic if there are more players out there in the local area who want to play for us. Anyone interested in joining Enfield 1893 should contact the manager at Neil, which is spelt Neil, .blackburn@outlook.com.
And finally, some boxing. Enfield boxer Frank Buglioni has been made the mandatory opponent to face British light heavyweight champion Hosea Burton. Buglioni recently signed a 3-year deal to work under the management of Steve Goodwin and hopes to get his chance against unbeaten Burton later this year. He recently moved up to the light heavyweight division and has changed trainers to Mill Hill-based Don Charles. The move to Goodwin completes the restructuring of the team around him as he aims to move forward towards a world title challenge in his new division. Buglioni said, "I met Steve recently at my gym and we got on really well. I then had a meeting with my father, Don Charles, and Steve, and I'm really happy about what I think we can all achieve together. I've seen what he can do and feel without doubt he's the right man for me."
We have reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of Caroline, John and Romany and Colin on the controls, it's goodbye. Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the memory stick into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible, in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking Newspaper on 0208 805 6578. That's 0208 805 6578. Coming up next, the latest news and information for the Greater London area from InfoSound. The Enfield Talking Newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.